What's up, guys? This is gonna be one of those videos where I'm just like not happy. I'm like, I don't know why I'm so legitimately emotional about this, but I realize that the world is going completely nuts. I worry that maybe if I had tried harder at a younger age, that I could have been one of the guys to try and put a stop to it before it got to this point. But I kept convincing myself. I'm like, oh, it's temporary and things will swing back the other way, and it's impossible for these nut jobs and these activists to take over every portion of the society. And I was wrong. I didn't do enough. I've talked about this with some of my friends, and I legitimately feel responsible for what has happened to certain parts of the world. And one of those parts is game journalism. For those of you who don't know, and I've talked about it sometimes, when I was young, my goal, my dream was to become a video game journalist. I was obsessed with video games. I loved talking about video games, writing about video games, researching video games. To the point where when I was in high school, I think it was for a sophomore year or something, I was already writing for video game websites, like legitimate video game websites. I remember I got a job at one of them, and they're like, wait a minute, you're 16? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, well, I have at it, kid. And I tried to be a game journalist because I legitimately believed that video games were an important art form and that they deserved to be discussed critically. But what I found out while trying to be a game journalist is that the industry was just infested with these people who they do that reductive thing where everything needs to be looked at through the lens of race or gender or sexuality, and that's the only discussion they can have. And it's the only discussion they want to have. And they're able to take, something as interesting and intriguing and inspiring as some of these video games and go, yeah, but there's not enough black characters, or the women are dressed too sexy, or there's not enough, gay plot lines, or if there even are gay plot lines, they're handled badly. And I said to myself, well, honestly, maybe it was cowardly. I stopped trying to be a video game journalist. I made it. I was on salary for years writing for these websites and making videos and whatever else, and I made it in that space. And then I said, you know what? I just hate these people, and I don't want to be here. And maybe that was the cowardly thing to do. Maybe it was cowardly to leave the video game journalism space and not challenge these people. But I couldn't figure out, if you didn't toe the line, you were out anyway. I was watching friends get fired left and right because they didn't toe this ideological line. And that's how we've gotten where we are now with video game journalism, where it's completely run by these pink hair woke activists. And I can't even, I have no optimism anymore left for any of this, for anything. And not just journalism, but culture and storytelling, whatever. It's all been infected by these low IQ activists who want to believe they're making the world a better place when they have no idea what they're talking about. Now, that was a hell of an intro. Why do I bring that all up today? We're going to talk about it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Here's what set me off. And I know I shouldn't care. I know I should, or should I care? That's the other thing. What is left to care about in this world anymore? I've become such a nihilist. Anything I once cared about. I once cared about video games and storytelling and movies and all. And now I just go, you know what? It's all, who cares? It's all just gets taken over by the worst people and turned into trash. Now, this is Wired. I remember at a young age, I went, Wired. Well, that's a great publication. It was hip, it was fun, it had great writers, it was always on point, technology, whatever. I used to read Wired. I remember wanting to have a Wired magazine subscription and not being able to afford it because I was a young, struggling, wannabe journalist. Well, I would never get a Wired subscription now because this is their review of the new Harry Potter's game. And, I mean, you guys, I've talked about the game. We've played it on my stream. Is it a perfect game? No. But I do like it. I would say solid 8 out of 10. I'm definitely going to keep playing it. Even right now, I'm thinking, man, I kind of want to play that game, run around, explore some caves, whatever else. I mean, I won't bury the lead. I'll tell you right now, Wired has given it a 1 out of 10. Somewhere I saw, yeah, there we go, rating 1 out of 10. Which can we agree that it is journalistically unethical to give that game a 1 out of 10? A 1 out of 10 should be a game that doesn't work. A 1 out of 10 should be a game that is so abysmally bad that you press left and your character immediately dies. Okay? This is not journalism, this is activism. And to see, and if again, if this was, I don't know if I'm supposed to care. I guess what you know makes me so upset is that this is Wired, you know, an organization which I'm sure has flirted with this kind of activist bullshit before, but now I have to go. I can never trust Wired again. I can never trust Wired again because they've published this hit piece, this activism, masquerade, pretending to be a review, pretending that 1 out of 10 is an objective score for this game. Yes, all reviews are subjective, but 1 out of 10. And the reasons why it's a 1 out of 10, I know what they're doing too. And I know this woman wants me to have this reaction. I know she's probably gleeful that she's gotten this reaction out of me. This Gina Gray, let's take a look. This beautiful woman, or I don't know what you are, is probably rubbing her hands together gleefully, knowing that she triggered guys like me. But this is honestly not me coming at this from a place of anger. This is me coming at this from a place of like severe depression, that this is where we've gotten. That these are the people who are getting jobs and writing for culture, that we don't hire real writers anymore. I mean, look, they went and got their vibrator reviewer, 5 great sex deals. Can you imagine this monster of a woman with a fucking vibrator? Jesus Christ. And that's what's depressing, is it's no longer smart, capable, witty writers. It's just whoever can piss off the most people by spreading the most activist buzzwords. We're going to read this whole thing because I'm just so upset. The game is mid at best. Its real-world harms are impossible to ignore. You could even have an article, and I've said this. You can criticize J.K. Rowling. I don't care if you do that, but you have to do it fairly and objectively. And taking a game that was worked on by thousands of people and saying it's a 1 out of 10 because you don't like the writer of the original book is silly. Okay. It helped me say goodbye to the setting for good. That's the only thing they liked about it. What's bad about it is the story is rooted in anti-Semitic tropes. I hope they cover that, because I find that assertion so ridiculous. At least there's something to laugh at here. The gameplay feels dated. Maybe a little bit. I don't know. It feels like what the modern AAA gameplay is. You run around, you hit guys. It doesn't need to reinvent the wheel here. The graphics feel a couple generations behind. I don't agree. I think the graphics are great. All the characters are one-dimensional. You know, I think they could have done more with the characters, but whatever. It doesn't stay true to the established lore. Again, like, these are all, like, critiques you can have. Some of which I might even agree with. Like, yes, you know, some of the characters could have a little more personality. But it's not a 1 out of 10. Every character feels like an off-brand version of the characters we know and love. There's no sense of place, no magic, no heart. Okay. Is this now I go between like extreme depression of like this is where we're at, and then just laughing because you literally started your review with yikes, y'all. Okay, I don't even smoke, and I feel like I need a cigarette before I get this thing started. You should try cocaine. You might lose some weight. We're gonna talk about Hogwarts Legacy, and to do that, we need to discuss the whole mess. Pull up a chair, pour yourself some tea, wrap in a blanket, scream into a pillow, because this one's going to take a lot out of both of us. Whatever the hell that means. Okay. Hogwarts Legacy is a third-person action RPG, blah, 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 blah. It's all made by J.K. Rowling. This is important because she's always been inseparable from her work and from work she's inspired and licensed for better and now mostly for worse. Nothing with a Wizarding World stamp on it can be viewed outside the context of it being a product of J.K. Rowling. I completely disagree. There are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of people working on these Harry Potter projects. J.K. Rowling has, like, completely different projects she's working on. She's writing her own, like, mystery novels and shit. Harry Potter is its own thing. And I don't agree that you can't separate it from J.K. Rowling in any way. Within the pages of her book, she made the ordinary seem extraordinary. That's always the weird thing to me, is that all these people go, oh, I loved the original Harry Potter. And I go, well, that's kind of a red flag, too. Harry Potter's great for kids. when you become an adult, I think the plot line problems become very obvious. Where you go, okay, you kind of have to be a kid to excuse this. Like the idea, I think recently we've been discussing, like, Harry Potter doesn't work if at any point an adult acts responsibly. When you're like, hey, there's a monster in the bathroom killing kids, and in Harry Potter world, all the adults go, no, there's not. Fuck you. Like, it's not a mature book. It's a children's book. I mean, I think they are trying to make it more realistic now. Anyway, within the pay, blah, 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 blah. She's, okay. Since 2019, the once beloved children's author she's had some opinions about people like me. So are you transgender? I think this is a man who became a woman. Okay. So, again, that's fine, but, like, it obviously colors your perception. Why do we whatever. Let's real quick see, like, what are they linking to exactly? Because we've talked about this. Like, what has J.K. Rowling really said that is so horrible? J.K. Rowling's transphobic tweets and the erosion of the Harry Potter franchise. Well, the Harry Potter franchise has not been eroded because this game is literally like a bestseller. It's the right now has broken the record for most streamed single player game on Twitch, or most people watching. Okay, so this is like one of her big ones. If sex isn't real, there's no same-sex attraction. I was thinking about this tweet because somebody reposted it recently, and I'm like, well, you do have to admit that if you don't believe sex isn't real, you have to stop talking about same-sex attraction. You believe in something called same-gender attraction. Okay, but that means you no longer believe in sex. A fundamental belief of transgender people is that sex really means nothing. Like, you don't believe in sex. That's only something for your doctor to worry about. So if sex isn't real, there's no same-sex attraction. If sex isn't real, the lived reality of women globally is erased. Is there not a point there? No one loved trans people, but erasing the concept of sex removes the ability of many to meaningfully discuss their lives. It isn't hate to speak the truth. What is the problem with this tweet? How is this transphobic? What she's said here is, listen, you can in your personal life decide you don't think sex is real. You think gender is the only definition of a person, and that your biology doesn't define you. But for many of us women, we have suffered as the result of our sex and our biology. We've been victimized because of it and whatever else. So, do what you want, but you can't tell us, hey, stop believing sex is real, because our sex has been a major part of our lives. Having been born the biological female sex has had a huge impact on my life and how I've experienced life and what I've gone through. How is that transphobic? Again, I mean, we can't dig so far into this. Republican senator quotes J.K. Rowling while opposing equality. Well, that's not her. She can't, okay, so she linked to a million articles rather than make the case herself, which is what these guys always do. You always go, hey, well, why is J.K. Rowling transphobic? And they go, well, look at this article. This article right here at the top says she's transphobic. And you go, okay, well, then what did she say? You said there's transphobic tweets. She posted one tweet, and the tweet does not read to me as transphobic. It's this game of telephone that they play. Okay. When I was a kid, every word that flowed from J.K. Rowling's pen wrote magic into my world. But now every word she puts out just hurts my heart. Every homophobic or transphobic thing kids hear growing up becomes a voice that follows them for a long time. We hear relatives, friends, and parents say awful things about us and to us. Okay, so I get it. Everybody suffers. When one of these voices comes from the author who taught you about accepting yourself, who got that out of Harry Potter? Harry Potter was about a kid who flew around on a broom and, like, fucking fought magic creatures and shit. Why are all these kids telling me J.K. Rowling helped me become who I am, blah, 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 and now it's a betrayal? I'm like, she gave you a piece of entertainment. She doesn't owe you anything more than that. I don't hate her. It would honestly be easier if I did. Inside me somewhere, there's a kid who still loves her despite anything. What does this have to do with the fucking video game? It's hard to tell her there's nothing left to fix, and there are places we can't return to, places like Hogwarts. So why don't you put a big disclaimer on here? 1 out of 10 if you're a transgender adult who used to be obsessed with Harry Potter. For everybody else, 8 out of 10. Okay. I remember when the first book came out, the gangly boy on the cover illustration. I'll be honest, it wasn't a never-ending story situation for me. I didn't open the cover and get transported to a world of magic and mystery. I liked it, but the third book, The Prisoner of Azkaban, drew me in. Okay. In Harry, I saw my own rough childhood reflected. I shared his frustration with the adult world and that tight knot of anger he couldn't really understand boiling away in his chest. In Ron, I knew what it was to go to school and hand-me-downs to worry about. Oh my god, is this just like really a woe is me fucking the author going, I was poor and I was bullied and blah, and Hermione, I saw my relentless and blah, blah, blah. Okay. You identified with the characters, which is great. Good. Young fiction should give you characters you identify with. What's the problem, though? It's still a great piece of fiction. I avoided press about Hogwarts Legacy. I didn't want to see the gameplay. I didn't want to be awed by trailers. I was afraid I would be conflicted to see a game that captured the magic of the books and my heart would leap me out of my chest. I was afraid to see the beautiful visuals. I was afraid I'd have to tell 12-year-old me that she couldn't play and explain why. So when I got a code for Hogwarts Legacy, I braced myself. Who gave this moron a code? I thought I'd spend a lot of time in this section nitpicking about how much this game deviates from the source material. Good! As I said, the source material for Harry Potter, it's J.K. Rowling. Look, she's a great lady, and I think she's learned a lot as a writer, but Harry Potter was like her first real book. She made a lot of mistakes. I always bring up the stupid time travel element from, I think, the second book, where you go, don't do that. You're going to screw up your whole universe introducing time travel into it. So, yeah, you kind of have this Harry Potter universe, which, again, was created as like a throwaway kids book, and now they want to make it into a full cinematic universe. It's the problem you had with Star Wars, where shit that George Lucas really didn't think through. It goes, oh, your dad fought in the Clone Wars? Well, now it's 20 years later and everyone's obsessed with Star Wars. And you're like, well, what the fuck is a Clone War? And you got to start piecing together all these throwaway lines that were in the books and the movies and whatever else. You suddenly have to flesh out. So, yes, it has to deviate from the source material. I think that is a plus. I think the way it's fleshing stuff out and throwing out maybe some ideas that don't work is good. Anyway, let's see. How dated it looks and feels, I don't get that. I think it looks great. How every character feels like an animatronic Chuck E. Cheese robot waiting for you to come by and put a quarter in it so you can say one line of dialogue. And look, I think all video games are like that. I don't think Hogwarts is any better or any worse. The longer I spent this version of Hogwarts, I could feel a tangible absence. There's something missing. Maybe it's the lackluster art direction, the one-dimensional characters, or the conspicuous lack of the John Williams score. Am I not hearing? I swear to God I'm playing the game, and I occasionally hear do-do-do-do-do. I mean, they couldn't use all the... Could they not? They probably would have had to pay John Williams a bunch of money. Who cares? John Williams does not define Harry Potter. There's a hole where this game's heart should be. The world is lifeless. Character models and facial animations are present but somehow absent. See, all of this feels like you're looking for an excuse to hate this game. Because you're mad at J.K. Rowling. Because you could have talked about all this without talking about J.K. Rowling being a real-world transphobe. Like, honestly, all of this is fine to me. I'm fine talking about, okay, does it really make sense, you know, that you're wandering around this world and there's people with quests and you show up and they say the same canned lines every time? Like, yes, those are problems with all video games, and I think they're worth addressing. Like, how do we make characters feel more realistic? How do we make these worlds feel like they're not populated by robots? But the problem is you've completely tainted this, like, semi-interesting conversation by being like, none of that really matters, though, because J.K. Rowling hates trans people. Which I don't even think she hates trans people. So the story, besides being rooted in anti-Semitism, see, you can't just say that. She devotes one line to telling me that this game is anti-Semitic, and the line is, a global cabal is trying to end slavery, but that's bad because the slaves like being slaves. What does that have to do with anti-Semitism? I know the common complaint is that the goblin characters, because they're bankers, are Jewish. But, guys, it just doesn't hold up. This is like a childish claim to level at the game. The game feels muddy, a minefield of unanswered questions, unexplained motivations. Speaking of which, the characters often flat out state their motivations. It says it's Hogwarts, but it doesn't feel like Hogwarts. This game was put together to tap the eager nostalgia of fans without any attention to actually making it worth playing. I cannot recommend spending your money on it, combined with who this game helps and who it harms, Well, it's definitely not worth it unless your goal is to cause harm. Guys, we've talked about this. When you buy this game, you're helping support thousands of developers. You're helping support these journalists who are reporting on it and making. You got paid to write this article, Miss Jana, or whatever the fuck your name is. There's streamers who are making money from this game. This game is literally helping keep, thousands of families fed. So weigh that against how much you want to hurt J.K. Rowling, a woman who is already a multimillionaire, who, if this game didn't exist, would probably continue to live in the exact same lap of luxury as she currently lives in. The new movies she also starts talking about the new Wizarding World movies. Stay on target, you dumb bitch. This is what I'm talking about lack of professionalism. This was supposed to be a review of the game, and 90% of it is about when I was a kid, it was hard, and I liked the Harry Potter books. But then J.K. Rowling said some shit I didn't like. This is terrible. This isn't even a review. This is a joke. Doesn't talk about anything. It doesn't talk about the combat. Doesn't talk about the quests. Doesn't talk about the gear and the learning new spells. This is not a review. This is just activism. There's a direct correlation between how open Rowling becomes about her bigotry and how flat and heartless Wizarding World media becomes. I don't think that's a coincidence. Okay, so this was the paragraph I saw at the beginning, and this drives me nuts. This drives me completely nuts because it completely defines what people like Jana here believe, because they're crazy. They're fucking nuts. Okay. This is why she thinks Harry Potter, or what do you call it? This is why Hogwarts Legacy is bad. And remember, this is so complicated. Why is it bad? Okay. She says it's because LGBTQIA+ people and genuine allies. Thanks for throwing us a bone. Genuine allies, not just allies. You got to be the good ones. Are some of the best creative minds in the world, and these films in this game was largely made without them. So the reason Hogwarts Legacy is bad is it didn't have enough. We're going to try it again. LGBTQIA+ people working on it. So, should we finish the... Let's try to finish the thought from this lady. The game industry is far queerer than most people realize. I'd say it's less queer than you realize. I think you're thinking about... What do you mean by that exactly? Let's see. What are you linking to? The games industry is significantly queerer than average population stats. 21% of the UK games industry. So, that's one section of the industry. The entire gaming industry is not based out of the UK. Let me posit this to you. What percentage of the Japanese game industry do you think identifies as LGBTQ? I would estimate less than 1%, because that's just not their culture. And Japanese games are a huge portion of the company. Again, I don't even think Hogwarts Legacy was made in the UK. Hogwarts Legacy developer. Not that it matters, but Avalanche Games is based out of, is it like Norway or Sweden? Oh, no, they're actually American. Okay, I'm confused. I thought they were foreign, but hey, good for them. So, yeah, no, I don't think the game industry is more queer. Maybe in some countries, I get that, and there is a culture. And I would say even in America, yeah, a lot of creatives end up being LGBTQ. It's a kind of a social thing. I think even the not gay people go, well, I'm not gay, but I'm queer. And you go, well, what the fuck does that mean? And he goes, well, I still have sex with women, but sometimes I wear a fanciful hat when I do it. Okay. The game industry is far queerer than all people realize. All the things you know and love about your favorite games were made by queer people. Whatever the fuck that means. I don't mean directors or executive producers. I mean the concept artists, sound designers, engineers, technical artists, composers, musicians, writers, testers, producers. The hands that make the best games in the world are queer. My favorite video game is Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger was made by a bunch of Japanese businessmen who probably had to wear suits and ties to the office, and are probably straighter than a fucking arrow. Feel free to correct me in the comments if anyone who worked on Chrono Trigger was a gay man, but this is just a fallacy. And it's also a fallacy to believe. I mean, let's finish this out. I see the quiet solidarity of queer people and allies in game development. The people who said no when job offers came their way. So this is fucking nuts. So basically, this person, this Jana Rodriguez Gray, with no evidence whatsoever, the one piece of evidence that she points to is this study that says 21% of the UK gaming industry is gay, says the reason Hogwarts Legacy is bad is because not enough gay, transgendered, lesbian, whatever people worked on it. First of all, and not that they don't have evidence, like they didn't go to the studio and say, hey, can I, poll your developers and find out how many of them are gay or consider themselves queer, or consider themselves allies. It's based on the idea that someone came to them, a recruiter, and said, would you like to work on the Harry Potter game? And because and she's assuming that a good gay person would say no. This is like a wild fucking assumption. It's saying, well, I don't actually know who's working there, and I don't know who worked on it, but my assumption is that recruiters went to gay developers and writers and creators and said, do you want to work on Harry Potter? And rather than get a big old paycheck for working on a AAA IP in a fucking crumbling economic situation where people are desperate for work, the assumption from this idiot fucking writer who has no idea how the real world works is that people said, no, I refuse to work on Harry Potter as a proud ally, and me and my family will starve rather than work on a AAA Warner Brothers IP. How did this get published in a legitimate... can I even call Wired legitimate anymore? I don't think I can. And then, of course, at the very end, buy at donate to Trans Lifeline. Buy what? What do you want me to do? You want me to give trans kids money because you didn't like a Harry Potter video game? Okay. Guys, I know this video's gone long. I'm sorry. I got a lot to say. I got a lot to say about this. There's just so much. There's so much to talk about. What was I trying to say? I think. Oh, this. So the idea that look, I've said this before. For all intents and purposes, I'm a straight man. I've had experiences, whatever. I've flirted with the pretty boys down by the flower pond or whatever the fuck. But for the most part, when I'm looking for someone to be with, I want a biological woman, I want to make children, whatever. I would, they say hetero-flexible. I think that's a good way to put it. I'm hetero-flexible. So, and I've never considered myself a part of the LGBT community, despite the fact that I've had homosexual encounters, because I just go, I don't know. I don't understand. The whole culture doesn't make any sense to me. I don't really define myself by who I do or do not have sex with. I don't find that interesting. So I'll say this, as someone who considers themselves the closest thing to straight. I think a lot of straight people would even be willing to try things out the way I've tried things out. So as a straight man, the idea that I'm less of a creative because I don't have this magic queer energy or whatever the fuck it is just silly. It's silly to me. It's insulting in a way. It's insulting, and it's obviously wrong. You can look at great works of art across time, and the guys who created them, some of the guys who created them were probably like virulent bigots who were like, I will have nothing to do with a homosexual person, okay? To say that there's some magic creative energy to being queer, a word which no one can define and nobody knows what it means, is one, it's ridiculous, but two, it's worrying because this is becoming the belief. This is becoming a weird piece of propaganda that is getting out there. I don't want to get too much like, woe is me or whatever else, but I've lived in Hollywood, or I've lived in Los Angeles for a long time. And I go to apply to projects, And they go, right now we're really only looking for marginalized voices. I go, there's these writing, what do you call it? Workshops or whatever. It'll be like the Warner Brothers writing workshop. We pick the best scripts and then we teach you how to write for Warner Brothers, and you might get a job at the end of it. Please only apply if you are a diverse individual or whatever else. And you go, what why do you believe? I don't, it's not even racist to say it. What if I told you straight white guys are making some great fucking shit? And this weird, strange myth going around that the only people who can write and create and make great music and great art have to be gay or black or trans or something else. I don't... Who's making this push? Why is anyone believing that? What special power do you believe these people, possess by mere, value of being a trans person? Because I look at this person and I go, this was not a great article. Maybe competently, okay, look, they can put a sentence together, but it's all over the place. It doesn't even talk about the fucking video game. So I don't know. There's just, as always, there's just too much to discuss. And I never know how to feel. My emotions go from laughter, where I go, oh, this is ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. But then it goes to fear. It goes to fear of, well, this is being published in supposedly real publication like Wired. And if these ideas take hold, the fear, is that maybe they will continue to say, if you're a straight white guy or, you're not queer or you're not gay enough, then we're not going to let you work on video games. We're not going to let you make movies. And then the fear turns, I feel like Yoda, fear turns to anger. It's angering to hear someone tell you that you are less of a creative because you have not embraced your inner queer energy. And then you go back to laughing again at the ridiculous of it all. Guys, all I know is the dreams I had for the future are all dead. I wanted to be a game journalist. I wanted to be a creative, and all the spaces I wanted to be a comedian. Every space I wanted to exist in has been destroyed by people like Jaina. And I guarantee that if she had the option, if she could click a button and say, I want to kill, you can kill this horrible straight white man just by clicking a button, she would do it. She would kill me and everyone like me to create a beautiful queer utopia where only the good art gets made, and subversive guys like me who want to crack jokes and want to be, want to write fun articles, and we need to be pushed out. We're trash. And this is a great image right here, I gotta say. This is what they're doing. They're burning the world to the ground, and I have no idea how to stop them. All I can do is make fucking YouTube videos. And that's the sad truth, guys. Please subscribe to the channel. This is all I have. This is all I can do. I can't get a job at any of these outlets. No one's ever gonna hire a guy like me who speaks his mind and speaks the truths I believe are real. So all I can do is hope that there's people out there who are listening. I really hope you guys are listening. I really hope that there's enough of us that someday we can overwhelm this fucking lunacy. And I don't know, it's hard to keep up the fight. It's hard to keep holding out hope. And every day I grow more and more despondent and more nihilistic, and that's what they want. They want to beat me into the fucking ground. And I really hope they don't win. I really hope they don't win. We got more videos coming soon. What a nightmare.